It's gonna be a good day today. What's up, peeps? Welcome into the show. Finally got her going. Excited for our training today. I got a bunch of props, things I was setting up, and I wanted to get it just right for you this morning. Welcome in. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Excited to dive in. 7 healthy foods that are actually secretly destroying your health. These are the questions I answer over and over and over again. I should say coaches graciously answer over and over again. You guys check with specific foods. Should I eat this? Should I not? Is this good for me? Here's the easier ways to tell and the big ones to watch out for. We're gonna dive into it. So good morning, Debbie and Heidi and Christy over on YouTube, Nancy, Georgia, South Dakota, Chicago area, Miami, Michigan, all in the house. Welcome in Facebook. New York, a couple of you. Gonna be a good day today, Linda. Good morning in Georgia, Martha. Tennessee. Rebecca, Nebraska. Welcome in. What's up, Instagram? Did you pop in on this one? North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Ohio. Welcome in. Yes. All across the country. Hey, Lori. Welcome in, peeps. Well, great training today. Excited for it. 7 healthy foods that are secretly destroying your health. A lot of people assume these things are okay. Try to get away with it. I'm going to break it down for you today. Crew 65, chugging along. Week 3, working through detoxing, removing toxins from your house, learn all about that. We're going to move into some days of fasting potentially next week. I challenge you on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or all 3 days to do just liquids. Maybe it's just the green juice. Maybe it's just water. Maybe it's just collagen and coffee. Maybe doing just lemon water. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but just kind of abstain from eating for a day or 2 or 3. You can do it. There's a lot of guides and a lot of just ways to go about it that we provide for you. JD in South Africa, welcome in. So next week we'll be doing a little bit of cleansing, and then it's Challenge Champion. It's time for celebrating. It's time for your story. Only reason to look back is to see how far you've come. So that goes down next week. Now, we will have a couple of days to submit those. Video, just a story. I don't like doing videos, Dr. Livingood. I know it's all right. It's your story though, and it's not only going to solidify what you're doing, but the impact it could have on hundreds and thousands of other people. So record that, submit it early next week, and then we're going to be voting. You guys will be voting to nominate Challenge Champion and a Livingood Daily Award winner. Those will be announced next Friday. So no show on Wednesday, the Ask DLG show. Son's getting baptized that morning, so I won't be in the house. I'll be in the big house, the main house. Watching that is the day that it's going down. So on Friday, though, we will do the Challenge Champions, announcements for those, celebrate Crew 65, and reload for Crew 66. We don't rebuild, we reload. So that is the unofficial, official kickoff next Friday, where we're announcing those Challenge Champions and get ready for our next challenge starting March 3rd. So I want to make sure we broke that down for you. Nothing Wednesday, big show, big kickoff on Friday. All right, let's get into this. Excited you joined. South Africa is here, London is here, loving the, another from South Africa, lots from South Africa, able to join this morning. And then people all across the states, Texas and Pennsylvania and Arizona. Love it. Cheers to your Dr. Livingood coffee. Freezing down in Florida. Geeky, I know. All right, here we go. Got my props, got a couple camera angles here for you so I can break this down. I'm excited for this training, and then I can get into some direct Q&A right after. I literally create some of my trainings right here with you, and then you can ask questions directly after, and then we create something that literally goes on. I think the video we did 2 weeks ago together has reached like 250,000 people in a really short amount of time in a matter of like 5 days. Like, just that's the kind of impact that when we get to create these trainings together, you get to learn so much, you get to answer the questions you have immediately to get this stuff into your life, and this goes on to impact a lot of people as well. So love it. I get excited about it. Let's go. Say let's go in the chat. All right. I'm going to drive into training mode. I'll be back in a moment. Let's break this down. Welcome to Friday with Dr. Livingood. Here we go. You think you're eating healthy, but what if I told you that some of the so-called healthy foods that you trust might actually be wrecking your health? From hidden sugars to gut-disrupting chemicals, these foods I'm gonna cover could be sabotaging the energy, the digestion, the metabolism that you desire without you even realizing it. So today, I'm gonna share my top 7 of these so-called healthy foods that I get asked about all the time, my coaches get asked about all the time. These are the common categories from a vantage point of seeing hundreds of thousands of people in private groups getting coaching and getting asking questions from myself and from our coaches. These are the ones that I wish everyone would stop eating. I'm also going to explain why they're bad for you and then give you healthy alternatives and literally show you some examples right here of the things that you can use instead. So my top 7, you ready? Now these are like not the extremes, not the ones you're like, oh, I know that was really unhealthy. The ones that you thought were healthy, but actually aren't. Number 7, fruit juices. Fruit juice. These are high sugar bombs. Why are they bad? Even 100% natural fruit juice. I'm talking orange juice, I'm talking the apple juice, I'm talking the grape juice, I'm talking a lot of these, an entire aisle of it in the grocery store contain just as much sugar as the can of soda further down the aisle. They create blood sugar spikes, they create spikes in insulin, increase the risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease. It's going straight to that liver because there's so much fructose in the juice. Juicing, especially conventionally, removes the fiber. That means there's nothing to offset the amount of fructose that's going in, the amount of sugar that's going in. And the fructose molecule can only be broken down in the liver. So when you put more of this in, it is harder on the liver, especially when it's something like an orange juice or an apple juice, in order to break down. It leads to rapid sugar absorption and then ultimately turns it into fat, whether it's around the waistline or actually in the liver, studies show. So without the fiber, the juice is far less filling, especially when you compare it to a whole fruit. A glass of orange juice, 24 grams of sugar, an orange, 9. But it has multiple grams of fiber that can be subtracted off of the sugar that's found in the orange, balancing it out. See, God knew what he was doing. He was making this balance of fiber with the juices. And juice is extremely easy to consume in large quantities. I know as a kid, I would just pour really large glasses. It was easy to drink a lot of it. Most juices that you see in the store are pasteurized. And that is to increase the shelf life. They're often made from concentrates. And they're trying to pasteurize it to increase the shelf life. They can sell it longer. That destroys the nutrients like vitamin C and the antioxidants, the main benefits that occur in them. Now, what are the better alternatives? Eat the real whole fruit with the fiber. That's going to slow down the sugar absorption. Now, I think there's a period of time when you're on our challenge eating plan that you're cutting out fruit altogether, but that would be step 1. And if you can't give up the juice, then you need to squeeze it yourself or focus on green juice. Way less natural sugars versus the orange or the yellow. Way less natural sugars. And if it's fresh squeeze, you're not having all of the added sugars. It's not coming from concentrate. And it also doesn't have all the preservatives involved. Those would be the options. You could also use a greens powder that makes a greens juice. Another great option, there's berry flavors, there's normal green ones to make them taste a little bit better, but the more vegetable-based and green-based, the better you're gonna go, or you're squeezing it yourself, I would include a little bit of fiber. Number 6, flavored yogurt. It is a hidden sugar trap. Here's why it's bad. Many store-bought yogurts contain more sugar per ounce than ice cream. So they often get in the way because we think we're eating something healthy, and here we're eating ice cream. Might as well just go for the ice cream. And they get away with it because they're disguising the sugar on the label as something like fructose or fruit juice concentrate or dextrose. They're hiding the OSE at the end of the ingredient in the yogurt. And the fruit flavored yogurts often contain very little to no fruit. So instead, they use artificial flavors with added sugar to try to mimic the taste of the fruit. The artificial sweeteners that are found in low-fat yogurts, such as aspartame and sucralose, you can check out my video on sucralose being the #1 most dangerous health food additive ingredient that there is. Those disrupt gut bacteria, and they actually increase cravings by training your taste buds to crave sweeter foods. That's in a 2014 study of Nature. Yogurt brands also often compensate for the loss of the flavor in the low-fat products by adding in more sugar and more high fructose corn syrup. Got to make up for something because you're skimming the fat off the top, trying to cut down on the calories, but you add sugar in instead. Plain yogurt is more rich in probiotics. Those can support the gut. But just like juice, most store-bought options, they've gone through the pasteurization process. So people think we're doing a gut-friendly thing, but because of the pasteurization, they're trying to increase the shelf life. It kills the natural probiotics and the vitamins. So what are the alternatives we can do? If we're gonna choose yogurt at all, which during a more of a challenge approach plan, where you're challenging your body, you're cutting out all these excess forms of processed foods and sugars, we would probably cut this out. But when you're ready to add it back in on more of a lifestyle plan, Greek yogurt would be better. But the main thing I'm looking for on the side of the container is with live cultures. Then add your own fresh fruit. I would prefer berries. They're lower on the glycemic index. That'll give you a natural sweetness. You could also pick an option like kefir, which is a fermented drink that isn't as thick as the yogurt, but it's got the probiotics, the protein, the calcium, B vitamins, magnesium, and it's much naturally lower in sugar, especially when you buy it unsweetened. Number 5, healthy granola and cereals. These are ultra-processed carbohydrates. Here's why they're bad. Many granolas are loaded with refined sugars. They have bad rancid oils, seed oils, so they instantly spike blood sugar levels within 4 seconds of being in your mouth. Your body's already breaking them down with an enzyme called amylase to get the sugars into your bloodstream. That's how quick with a bowl of cereal or a processed granola. According to the National Institute of Health, less than 10% of breakfast cereals meet the national guidelines for sugar content. 10%. 90% of cereals have way too much sugar in them. They're sugar bombs. And the mean sugar content in breakfast cereals is almost 20 grams, which is about half of your daily recommended allowance. And if you're on the challenge plan, you're already completely past it. Even the ones labeled natural, even the ones labeled organic, they oftentimes have excess sugar in the forms of things like even honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar. Those things, although inherently good natural lifestyle sweeteners, are abused in these sugars and in these granolas, and we get way too much of them. And then whole grain cereals, we have to watch out for that. Just a whole grain or just an enriched grain, they're often containing processed grains, which act like sugar in the body. Your body converts them within those 4 seconds into sugar into your system and immediately starts soaking it into your bloodstream, shows the studies. It's also extremely common for people to eat too much cereal or too much granola. This is what I used as a kid, right? I literally had a Tupperware bowl. You're like, hey, you didn't just, what's the serving? Like it's 1 cup, like one and a half cups. And I'm doing one of these. I'm going to watch me some ESPN, and that's, growing up, that's the size. So we end up with a bowl that looks like this, and we wonder where all that excess sugar and excess fat and blood sugar problems and insulin resistance is coming from. We get 2 to 3 times the amount of the recommended value. Now, it's because this is a calorie-dense food, which typically serves around, maybe a quarter to a third of a cup. It looks real small in a cereal bowl, so people end up pouring a lot more in it than they have to. That's why I used a mixing bowl. It just looked like so little. So here's some great alternatives for you. Make your own grainless granola or grainless cereal. You take nuts, seeds of any type, cashews, walnuts, pecans, almonds, flax seeds, chia seeds. You can use any of these. You chop them up. You can blend them into a granola form. You can use natural sweeteners like monk fruit or stevia, and that's the no-bake sort of cereal version, or you can bake it at lower temperatures to prevent burning it, and then you can actually protect the nutrients within inside of it. I actually put a recipe to do exactly that below. It's the Dr. Livingood cereal or granola. I love it. And I like to add a little extra like monk fruit or a little extra stevia to kind of mix in there. And then it's lots of my favorite raw nuts and seeds. And I blend it and it goes into a cereal form. I could put like a coconut milk over the top of it if I wanted to. I can leave it a little more whole and bake it. And then now I have a grainless granola. Now, if you don't want to go to the trouble of making it, literally that recipe is below. Check that one out. You want to look for, at the grocery store, if you're getting these, ones that are saying grain-free or grainless, okay? So the grain-free ones, when I'm at the store, I'll flip this over. I want to look at ingredients labels. So we're seeing the nuts. There is a little bit of maple syrup in this one. So we want to be careful there of how much it is, okay? We've only got a few grams. We've got a few dietary fibers offsetting it. So this one's not bad, but just know you're taking in a little bit of sugar. If you're trying to lose weight, that could still be a problem. Sunflower seeds, walnuts, coconut oil, vanilla extracts. We've got no rancid oils. We've got just natural ingredients, and there's no grain. So that sugar and that carbohydrate hit is going to be way, way, way lower, especially when we offset it with some fiber. So we're looking for these grain-free versions. Grain-free was the one I would look at. Okay, you can make your own really easy on this, but we've got sunflower seeds, pumpkin. There's some coconut sugar in this one, so you want to be careful not to overeat on this and over binge on it, but it would be a better option. Coconut oil, flakes, almond flour, chia seeds, cashew butter, hemp seeds. You got it. So I go up here and I'm looking at, all right, what's my hit? Okay, 8 grams, but it's offset, so -2. I'm only getting 6 grams of carbs. There's 4 grams of added sugar. But you're going to want to keep this relatively low per serving, right? Otherwise, that coconut sugar is going to be setting it off. So the best option for you is just to make your own with the recipe below. It's a lot easier than you think. You can make a big bag of it. That way you can control the sugar options, so you don't even have to use maple or coconut. You could use a monk fruit or a stevia, and you have a way less impact on the actual sugar hit in your body. Let's go to number 4. Plant-based meat alternatives. Ultra-processed fake meats, fake foods. Why they're bad? Many of these meat substitutes are full of processed soy, canola oils, other rancid oils, and artificial additives. I don't have a problem if you're a vegan or vegetarian, if you choose to eat that style. It's just we can't take away meat and then put in highly processed chemicals. Processed soy falls into the ultra-processed foods category, which is linked to things like obesity, cardiovascular disease, overall mortality risks. It's the #1 most genetically modified crop on the planet. Highly processed plant proteins can also lead to hormonal imbalances, which then turns into inflammation. That's what the research shows. In fact, a study of more than 3,000 vegetarians found that people who ate plant-based meat alternatives had a 42% higher risk of depression, which is common among people who consume a lot of ultra-processed foods with artificial sweeteners. And people who eat plant-based meat alternatives also found to have higher blood pressure and CRP levels. If you don't know what CRP is, it is the #1 predictor of 30-year heart disease, heart failure, stroke risk, especially if you're female. Be sure to check that video out, breaking down C-reactive protein, what it means, why you should be simply tracking it, probably why your doctor hasn't told you about it. So that's a big measurement of inflammation in the body. So better alternatives is if you can find one that has no seed oils in it, no seed oils, and it can't have preservatives. And then also the requirement on the front is it must say non-GMO if you're going to use these. Try to choose whole plant proteins like lentils or mushrooms or non-GMO tempeh, and like find some nuts and seeds, other sources of the protein. But the meat alternative of giving up burgers and trying to still have a burger, you have to be very, very careful. There are very, very, very few that meet the criteria of not being a highly processed food. Number 3, deli meats. These are major cancer risk. The reason they're bad is because, speaking of highly processed foods, deli meats might top it. Not only are they highly processed, but they also use nitrates and nitrites. These are the preservatives that are added to the meat, and they've been linked directly to different types of cancers and increased cancer risks. Specifically, nitrates with an A have been linked to breast cancer women, and nitrites with an I are linked to prostate cancer men. A study by the World Health Organization also revealed that consuming just 50 grams of processed meat, about the equivalent of a hot dog, led to an increased risk of colon and rectum cancer by 18%. Picking the wrong deli meats and eating processed meats just one time, increasing the risk of colon and rectum cancer. In addition, deli meat also contains a lot of saturated fats and sodium. Now, I don't have an issue with healthy fats, but when it's in a highly processed food, I do. I don't have an issue with good, healthy cave salt, but when it's processed salt in packaged foods, then I do. These things lead to higher blood pressure, which can increase the risk of heart and stroke because we're eating the wrong types. Eating the same amount of deli meat each day, just 50 grams, was also found to be linked to the increased risk of cardiovascular disease. It increased it by 30%. So what's our alternatives? Fresh cooked meats. I will oftentimes, Nurse Livingood, grill multiple breasts of chicken at the beginning of the week, and I'll pick off of it kind of like it's a deli meat. I know it doesn't have the same consistency, but I use it in a similar way. You could do that with burgers as well. That way they're not overly processed and there's no added preservatives. So grill it ahead of time, enjoy it cold, or reheat it if you can. If you're gonna get deli meats, the criteria is hormone-free, antibiotic-free, nitrite-free, and then ideally organic. But it's got to at minimum be the first 3 if you're going to buy it. That's what I'm looking for. It's not that I never buy deli meat now, but I've got to buy the right kind. Number 2, vegetable oils. Inflammatory nightmares. Why they're bad. Oils like canola, soybean, and safflower, super high in omega-6 fats called linoleic acid. They're commonly found in ultra-processed foods, and they can lead to chronic inflammation in the body very quickly. Most people used to have a balance of essential fatty acids in their diet. An even amount of omega-3 fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory, and omega-6 fatty acids, which can be inflammatory if they oxidize. But in the past 3 decades, these used to be equal. The ratio has been thrown way off. And in some aspects, instead of being 1-to-1, they're all the way to 20-to-1. Of inflammatory oxidated oils versus stable anti-inflammatory oils. It's largely due to the heavy usage of different types of seed and vegetable oils, often added in Western diets, used in health foods, but they're also used to feed our livestock. They're eating the soybeans, they're eating the grains, and that's creating them to be way more omega-6 dominant, linoleic acid dominant, which then you eat the meat or the meat product and it ends up in you. So we're getting it on two fronts. We're consuming too many of these oils directly and too many of these grains directly, and so is our livestock. This can lead directly to conditions like arthritis, heart disease, dementia, diabetes. That's what the research unequivocally shows. Vegetable oils often are super chemically processed, and when they are chemically processed, they oxidize in order to make them. Huge study out of the British Medical Journal that broke this down, and that oxidation is what gets us in trouble. The linoleic acid fats aren't stable. They're not as stable as a saturated fat. That's why saturated fats of coconut oil or butter don't bother me, because they're very stable. But when a linoleic acid fat is exposed to heat or light or air, by the time those oils, those vegetable oils, reach your kitchen, they're already oxidized. They're already rancid, and then oftentimes we're cooking with them. So that means they create lipid peroxidases, free radicals in your body. Those are unstable molecules that can damage your cells, especially the lining of your blood vessels, which oxidizes the cholesterol of your body. And here, you think you have an LDL or high cholesterol problem, you have a rancid oil and a sugar problem. Damages the tissues. That leads to accelerated aging, atherosclerosis, Parkinson's, among a whole bunch of other health issues. So, better alternatives. Here's my big four. Unrefined coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, avocado, or like a butter, ghee, tallow. Those are the four. That's it. Coconut, olive, avocado, butter, ghee, tallow. Just stick to those for cooking and heating and salads and you're good. You don't have to overcomplicate it. And they're really prevalent. And when I'm buying a packaged food, guess what I'm looking for? One of those four. They're high in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. And so that's going to support balancing this ratio back down. But the main thing is we've got to cut these rancid oils out, these seed oils out altogether to get things balanced. Number one, processed protein bars. Protein bars. We get asked about these all the time. These are candy bars in disguise. Why are they bad? Most bars contain high fructose corn syrup, artificial sweeteners like sucralose, preservatives, or some contain as much sugar, even in some kind of natural form, as a candy bar. I get asked this repeatedly. Even the natural protein bars spike blood sugar levels so significantly, and they cause energy crashes. But it's an on-the-go snack. They also contain a lot of what's called emulsifiers to hold them together, give them that stickiness to have a bar shape. They're added to have that consistency, and they extend the shelf life. And this is words like polysorbate 80 or carrageenan or some kind of soy-based ingredient that often is added. And these emulsifiers can damage the lining of your gut when they get down in there. They lead to a condition known as leaky gut, where the lining of the intestines become porous. They're letting things in they shouldn't lead in. They allow toxins and bacteria and undigested food particles to pass into the bloodstream. That's what eventually can trigger autoimmune related conditions. Even make things like type 1 diabetes worse, or MS, or RA, or celiac disease. So it's not that we are allergic to specific foods, it's oftentimes that our gut is so porous. A lot of people have problems digesting protein bars. A lot of them contain whey in a non-organic, non-clean form. That can lead to a lot of bloating, a lot of gas, stomach cramps, especially if you have a sensitivity to processed lactose like that. Other common ingredients that show up all the time is soy protein isolates, whether they're the little chips or the pods or the lots of different types of soy. Artificial sweeteners like sucralose, it's there all the time. Isolated fibers, those can cause some digestive problems for you. And there's a lot of forms of natural sugars in the forms of oats and grains and dates. These are sugar bombs. Better alternatives, Eat real food snacks. Raw nuts. The granola recipe I gave you. Boiled eggs. Can take an egg to go. Some jerky. Homemade energy ball. Make your own. Nurse Livingood energy balls, where instead of a big protein bar, it's a smaller energy bar and you can control the ingredients. How about an apple with some almond butter or cashew butter or peanut butter? Gives you about the same amount of protein as the bar, but with the nutrients and the natural fiber that you can't get from a processed food. You only get it from a real food. So these are 7 extremely common questions that we get. Now that you know which healthy foods to avoid, there's really 3 things I would sum this up with. When it comes to shopping for these food, read the ingredient labels. You guys can do this. They're common ingredients that show up over and over and over and over again. Sucralose, canola oil, soybean oil, Ace K. These commonly show up. Avoid the processed oils. Avoid the hidden sugars. Avoid the artificial sweeteners. Choose more whole food ingredients whenever you can. Find the ones you like and don't stop experimenting until you do find the ones you like. The fewer ingredients, the better. And listen to your body. Pay attention to how that food makes you feel. Did you even notice 2 or 3 hours later you didn't have any energy? I would love to know which of these 7 surprised you the most, that we often view as healthy, but they're not. Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to dig in to 13 foods you were told were healthy, but actually are not, check out this next video right here.